Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of 3rd and 20 Dynasty Podcast. I'm JT, joined by Frank, Jake, and Lounis. I'm going to start us off on a somber note here, not what you typically would have happening heading into the championship weekend, but anyone watching the Bills-Bengals game would have seen Damar Hamilton go down and collapse with what is now being described as him going into cardiac arrest. He was on the field for about 10 minutes receiving CPR. Then he was transported into an ambulance. They put him on oxygen. We haven't had many more updates since about Damar Hamilton, but prayers out to him. I don't know. Not much more we can add. I'm sure you guys don't care about our take on what we think about the whole situation. But the NFL has suspended this game. They're saying it's not going to be played at all this week. So while this is very tragic news and everyone's very concerned about Damar Hamilton's life, people do have questions as to what to do with the the fantasy football championship. And clearly, you know, life's much bigger than fantasy football championship. But we I guess have to discuss it and figure out what the solution is. So I mean, some leagues were lucky in terms of like this game just didn't have any relevance. Either it was just such a massive blowout, it would have taken insane record numbers, or you just didn't have players in this Bills-Bengals game for it to matter. But we do run into the issue of leagues where it is close, leagues where it does matter. So what do you guys think? How are you supposed to handle this championship weekend?
As someone that's tied up with all of this, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know. Because, like, obviously, first things first, we hope Damar Hamlin's okay. We hope that, you know, he makes a full recovery and all that good stuff. You know, prayers up to him. But in terms of fantasy, there's no right answer here. Either way you do it, if you say, oh, the game's over, whoever had the players in the game is going to complain. If you say it's a tie, whoever was winning the championship at the time is going to complain. Basically, the commissioner loses here, and that's the end. That's the answer. Your fantasy football commissioner loses.
Yeah, it's pretty much. It might be different in different leagues, like how you do want to decide it, because it ultimately does come down to the two people in the finals agreeing on something, whether it be like co-champions or whether it be taking the projection. Like, it's not really easy, especially because last night, like, it had gotten started and like there was anyone who had like a Tyler Boyd.
Boyd scored within the first 3 minutes of the game. It was
which makes it
Joe Burrow passing touchdown.
Which makes it even harder because it would have been the whole thing would have been a lot easier if it was still 0-0. So I guess the main thing is just kind of consulting with the two people that are in the finals, seeing what's the difference in projections that what it was coming into that Monday night. I know the one is it the second, 3rd, and 20 league with you, Jake? Yeah. It's kind of a tough situation with that because the projections were within like
a quarter of a point. They were within decimals of a point at the time the game ended, which makes it tough because you really can't say either team would have won at that point of the game. It was obviously going to depend on, in this case, how T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd continued throughout the game. So to say that I lost, I don't think is fair, but to say I won is not fair either. So at that point, since we're projected so close, I think the best case in that one is just co-champions. It sucks, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and then there's also there is other scenarios depending on what the two people agreed to in the finals. You could do, well, one thing, Sleeper is giving commissioners pretty much full flexibility with the entire thing on what they decide to do, which is convenient of I've seen taking those players' points from the following game, like those Bengals,
which I also don't I just don't think that it's a completely different game. It's a completely different matchup.
Yeah, but I mean, like, in this scenario, like, how else, like, if you have two teams that aren't agreeing on a tie, say it's Joe Burrow was projected. Say you had Joe Burrow and 5 points against Josh
Because
Allen.
if I'm either side here, right? Burrow threw a touchdown in the first 3 minutes of the game, so you're like, oh, he's off to a good start. But on the back end, if I'm the guy playing him, I'm saying the Bills' defense is good, and I don't want him playing against the Baltimore defense that gives up 1 million points next week. Like it's
but
just,
here's the thing I hate about that. It's not fantasy football. Like, co-champions is not fantasy football to me. I don't mind if you split the pot. I don't really care about that. But to me, at least riding it until next week, that's fantasy football.
But it's not though, because what if Cincy rests their players? The game doesn't mean anything to them.
What if you guys are just like, okay, it was close in projections, let's roll it. Boom, next week, fresh fucking lineups. Like, let's just run it back.
Because people are gonna sit in week 18. That's why there's no fantasy games in the last week of the year, because people sit down and the games are meaningless, half of them. So you can't. That's what makes. And that's why, especially with Cincinnati, who's now pretty much locked in to a non-number one seed division winner, they're not going to play anybody. Why would they?
No, it depends on certain things, because there's going to be a big difference between if they just decide not to count the game or if they count it as a tie. Because if they decide not to count the game, then Cincinnati will have something to play for, because if Kansas City loses somehow to Vegas, right, I think if they win, they would have this slightly better winning percentage, or they would have the tiebreaker because they beat Kansas City earlier this year. The best thing is like kind of just listing out these possibilities and seeing one that hopefully the two people can agree with. I do understand the co-champ thing kind of being annoying.
The co-champ thing is the only thing you can do, though, if the game is even in doubt, because no one is going to agree to anything. So the only thing you can do is
you have to find something that the people
it has to be something,
right? Which is why all routes lead back to co-champions if there was a doubt. Which sucks. I agree, it sucks, but I think that's the only thing you'll get people to agree on.
Split the pot by win percentage? I don't know of the.
What's a reasonable
of the fantasy matchup?
In Jake's instance, right, he's got it's the second, third, and 20 league. You're looking at the first, third, and 20 league winner, by the way. Thank you, everyone. In the second, third, and 20 league, Jake and the other person are like, excuse me, sorry, are like 0.25 points away from each other. So it's like
projected when the game ended.
Projected, sure. If you're projected to lose by 25 and you have Tyler Boyd as your only player, like what's the actual, including the points that he just scored from the touchdown, what leg do you truly have to stand on that you're like, oh yeah, like I could have won this, like Tyler Boyd was just cooking and starting to go off? Like at what point do you draw the line and are like, no, it was clearly the other person's favored?
But like Tyler Boyd going off for 30 is a possibility. He's done it before. Like I know it's a very unlikely
but where do you
scenario.
draw the line?
It's
like
an unlikely sure. 40. He's not going to put up 40. There you go.
That's why it gets into a weird gray area though, where I'm like, this person was clearly about to win, and we're gonna now make him co-champions because I said that doesn't feel right. I mean, in your instance, it's a quarter of a point. That's completely different than what I think, like 25 points from James Cook, sorry, not Jared Cook, James Cook in this week. It's just, it doesn't.
Just sucks, man. This is definitely the worst year to be in a championship, because it's like it completely took out the what if. Because I agree that you probably just, if it's within any semi-reasonable amount, you just have to give the person that was favored, if no one can agree on anything, kind of the leg to stand on. If you could do like a league
vote for something like that, like should it just be a win for this person? And like a vote across the league. And what were you going to say anything after that, Frank?
Well, I mean, it's just really unfortunate for potentially leagues where it doesn't really matter about the prize money, and you're more so interested about having the bragging rights of a championship, because the prize money to me is an easy thing. Like, okay, maybe if it's a really high stakes league, it's different, but at least if you're in a lot of leagues, the prize money doesn't really fucking mean much, because you're going to win prize money in some leagues. So it's like, okay, if you want to get a majority of the pot because you were winning a majority of the game, right? Like, fine, go ahead. I'll take the 15% or 20% of the pot. I think that's very agreeable to anyone who was winning the game against someone with a Tyler Boyd who, oh, if he got that 23, I would have won. So to me, that's the easy solution, but it just sucks for the people that wanted the bragging rights.
Yeah.
But all right.
And we might get a bigger kind of consensus answer from the fans once they decide, because I think how they want, and the NFL decides to rule the game is pretty important, because that may have an impact on like if people decide to wait until someone's next week's
right.
stats.
All right, let's get into the bowl games. So bowl games have been happening in college football. Who's impressed you from the bowl games?
He's not a I don't know how deep into this we want to go, right? Because like the guy that I'm looking at, I don't think he's not coming out this year. He's staying at Kansas. It's Jalen Daniels. He just signed an NIL deal with Adidas there. He looked really good against Arkansas. I thought his ability to hit receivers in stride, I'd not seen that very often from that kind of like quarterback. I thought he looked very good for Kansas. Almost mounted a gargantuous comeback against Arkansas. I think they went into triple overtime after they were down like 20 points in that bowl game. I thought he looked really good. Other than Jalen Daniels, I mean, the obvious players, I thought Quentin Johnston had a sick play in the bowl game against Michigan. I thought he broke a few good plays actually. Marvin Harrison Jr. also, he did get knocked out of that game, but he was going off. I'm trying to think of other smaller.
I think CJ Stroud for a lot of
CJ Stroud, Bryce Young for a lot of people too.
That's the one I really want to get into is CJ Stroud, because I'm curious as to how you guys value CJ Stroud, because I personally have not really made up my mind on him.
It was nice to see him use his legs. I mean, that was something I didn't think. Like I didn't think he was much of a runner, and I'm not sure if it was just like hey, like we have these games locked up for the most part, other than the Michigan game that they lost. Like maybe let's not risk it running him out into space. And then in this game, they're like, hey, let's just go all out. It's Georgia. We got nothing to lose. Last game of the season. But he looked very dynamic, which was not what I expected in the slightest.
I was going to say
there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as for the running aspect, I wonder if that is something Ohio State does with their offense, because the recent example I'm looking at is Justin Fields. What he's doing in the NFL, he was never doing like runs like that really in college.
Well, yeah. When your college receivers are better than your NFL receivers, like
he had some huge runs in college. Like it wasn't necessarily like the only thing he did, kind of like in the NFL. But
no, I know, but dude, like in the NFL now, I feel like every single week he rips off like a 50 or 60-yard run. From like midway through the season till now, it's been every week it happens. Like, and I don't know. Obviously, like, I don't think anyone anticipated being this good a runner where it's like he's having 1,200 rushing yards. Like he's close to breaking Lamar's record. So I obviously I don't think that Stroud is close to the runner that Fields is, because Fields is just a different level of athlete. But I was impressed by CJ Stroud. He was like moving around in the pocket, making good throws. No one, including me, I think a lot of people didn't really give Ohio State a chance, or like would ever think that Ohio State will put up over 40 points against Georgia's defense, especially without Jackson Smith and Jigba wasn't able to come back for the game, and Marvin Harrison gets knocked out. I was impressed. I think he cemented himself as QB2, because I know some people were talking about Will Levis, and I'm kind of higher on him overall in the rookie rankings. I know none of us were, but I'm saying like a lot of like these like Twitter scouts.
The real question is CJ Stroud for you a lock at a top 3 pick? Yeah, if he's sitting there at your 103, you're just saying he's the best player beyond reasonable doubt.
Definitely.
I think that's been the big difference. Because I think before I probably had him at 4, and I think now I feel comfortable saying.
Who do you have
above him?
Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Oh, Yeah, no, I'm just
I'm
always
just really,
thinking that
I'm
quarterback that's
not. I
gonna
know
be
it was a year ago. He hasn't played this year, but he was still the best receiver on a team with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave
No,
playing.
I don't mind that answer. I was just curious.
And yeah, no, and if he had like a landing spot, like if the Chargers drafted him, like which
hey,
is
Josh
where the
Palmer,
range.
baby.
Okay. I also pivoting us back to the Bryce Young game. In the first half, you had Jahmyr Gibbs and Deuce Vaughn trading huge runs against each other. I thought both looked really good too. It impressed me a lot. I think overall for the players that didn't opt out, it was pretty good bowl performances, I would say.
Yeah, he's not draft eligible, but Caleb looked awesome.
Yeah.
He blew the game, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, but he was making some throws earlier that were absurd.
It wasn't necessarily from the bowl games, but Drake May at a UNC, the quarterback. Just someone whose stock has been rising a lot. Hopefully he's not a Sam Howell, but it seems like he has a lot more legit draft hype than Sam Howell. So
yeah, right now on Keep Trade Cut, he's ahead of Will Levis and Anthony Richardson of this class. They combined
Drake May.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would much rather have Drake. I think Drake May is a first rounder. I guess Will Levis will probably be a first rounder, but I don't like it.
We got to get into this segment though. We got to get into this.
Okay.
So
a
wild turn in the story of Kayshon Boutte.
Why?
So there was a report that he came back. He was going back to LSU, right? Initially, we had talked about it on the pod. Oh, stinks for this class. Good receiver going back to school. Well, all of a sudden the other day, one of you guys sends in our Twitter group chat, Kayshon Boutte, spin zone, declaring for the NFL draft. And we're all just like, okay, what? Like, it's just weird when that much of a 180 happens. Well, apparently they didn't want him back. They didn't want him back. And word on the street, this is not confirmed. So this is not. But we gotta say, this is what we were seeing in the Twitter comments.
Partying
he got caught at a sex party
in Atlanta
with like a bunch of other like coaches and staff of the staff members, all of which have been let go, and now Kayshon Boutte not being allowed.
After their bowl game,
after the bowl game. Yeah, after the bowl game. That basically they're all done for. Don't know if that's true, but that was like, if you clicked on the tweet, it was one of the top replies. Like, yo, we got the inside scoop here.
Yeah. And it is kind of weird how he did just go back to it suddenly like that to enter in the draft right before the bowl game. You would think a major decision like that, you would have your mind made up. And...
Here's a quote from Brian Kelly yesterday when asked about if all of his staff were in good standing. He's saying, he holds them to the highest standard, blah, blah, blah. And then the quote goes, so they're held to the highest of standard as well. There are no coaches or support staff that are currently with me that have done anything that require me to feel as if they haven't met the highest of standards that are required within our program. So...
that's kind of a whack answer. That's kind of whack.
It's going to be interesting because it's like, I know apparently they're scheduled to be fired after the bowl game. I wonder if because this kind of leaked and went out, maybe just to kind of save face, they wait and then try to quietly do it like a month or two from now and just say like it's like parted ways or whatever it may be. So it's something to keep an eye on in the offseason. But ultimately, if those guys come back next year, that's how we'll know. I'm not going to pay attention to comments.
It's no more simple than this. Like, is Kayshon Boutte a good player? Right?
Yeah.
Are you trying to win football games in the NCAA in the toughest conference to play in?
Yeah. But I mean,
aside from doing something bad, why would you not want Kayshon Boutte back for your football team?
Well, there was locker room concerns prior to this. Like he was, doing the whole taking LSU out of his.
Okay, yeah, take that stuff into consideration as well. Where are we looking at right now? Let's say we were doing a pre-NFL draft, startup draft. I mean, where is Kayshon Boutte going? What is your opinion of him? Where would you value him with a rookie pick? All that stuff.
I still have him. Go ahead, Jake.
I'm just gonna say he's a tough one to value now. Like, you just don't know where he's gonna go in the NFL draft, because if these reports are true, he's gonna fall in the NFL draft just based on character concerns. And with that, he's probably gonna fall in rookie drafts. With that being said, talent-wise, I still think he's, a late first, early second kind of pick. But I mean, we'll see what his draft capital is come, the NFL draft in May, and what NFL teams think about him, because that's obviously something you got to think about and see really how much stock they put into this guy based on everything, including the off the field issues here.
The one thing I hate about this scenario is that when you're like a college player going to the draft, and we hear about stuff like well before the draft process, I feel like that usually doesn't turn out great, right? Exhibit A, who was the Florida State guy from a year or two, who was like, what was his name?
Tamarion Terry?
Yes, Tamarion Terry.
Yeah.
Tamarion Terry was a good player. He was a good player. But there was rumblings way before he entered the draft that this dude, like, not exactly a great locker room presence. And then all of a sudden, like, he was charged with something, right?
Yeah, murder.
Yeah, he was charged with murder. It's like, okay, yeah, that's only one example. It's not the best example, but like, I feel like a lot of times when it gets out this early, it's usually like there's some merit to it, because we've seen guys keep some crazy stuff under wraps. I mean, how many times do guys get this contract and then all of a sudden?
I mean, listen, that
crazy.
those Florida teams were riddled with guys that have been accused and convicted of, crimes here.
I mean, LSU, Darius Geis, he got made to the NFL, and then there was reports of them keeping stuff under wraps, him like sexually harassing like a 60-year-old woman or something like that. Like,
but dude, you're as a college, you're incentivized. You want to get these recruits and stuff. If you're the snitch college, I mean, how's that looking for you? You want to go to the snitch college? Like, no.
You can buy me.
I think if you're trying to party and have a good time, I'm not going to the snitch college, bro. Like,
I think the NFL draft is ultimately going to be the big telling thing about it, where NFL teams evaluate him at. I'm just interested. Do you guys have him in? Do any of you have him in your top 3 rookie receivers?
Not 3.
Oh, no shot anymore.
He's still 4 for me though. I have him right there with Josh Downs.
If you were in a draft right now, you are not taking him the 4th receiver in this class off the board.
Yeah,
at the end of the first concerns, at the end of the first round, you just don't care.
I mean, it's him versus Josh Downs. I just think the ceiling is way higher.
I'll take Downs.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just like,
I have him at 5 though. Meantime. I just have him and Downs flip from you. I have him at 5.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I push comes to shove, might break on it. I mean, depending on whether they get drafted and everything.
Yeah, landing spot.
But it's a much lower risk when you're considering, like, that's probably end of the first, beginning of the second round. Probably beginning of the second round is where you're drafting.
Right, yeah, beginning second.
And, to start the season, he was near the top of the first round. He was probably a top 6, top 7 pick. So that's a decent drop.
I don't know. The thing is, if I was in a draft right now, I just wouldn't be the guy that drafts him. I'd just let someone else take him.
That's a fair point.
Like, okay, obviously when the NFL draft comes around and if he goes in like the early second round, it's like, okay, well, you have people being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to make sure that you're not going to draft someone who's off the team in the year. Like, I'll trust their opinion on that. Okay, let's get into the next segment though. So this is the segment. It's called a rookie buy, sell, or hold. It's pretty complicated, so bear with me here. We name a rookie player and we say if we would buy, sell, or hold them.
Okay.
That's complicated. I wasn't prepared for that.
Lounis, there's 3 options. Okay, keep track of them all.
I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure it out on the go.
It's like when people first learn about betting soccer and figure out there could be a third option. You could just tie.
What the hell is this?
Yeah.
I guess we could just start it from the top of the class, just go down Breece Hall, at least at
Bye.
the time.
Smash. Bye.
Yeah, buy even at RB1 price.
Really? A lot of
Yes.
confidence in Breece Hall. Startup
that good.
draft. Where do you think you would value him around?
Super fun. I just don't like drafting
Super
running backs in my
flex.
startup, but
So is he still like probably what at somewhere in the early second, mid second?
yeah, he's like that.
Yeah.
He's that fringe 1-2 flip.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna say he might go late first, but I don't know. There's some it's the QBs now. There's a lot of good young QBs that you can get.
I mean, he's just in the conversation of, okay, do I take like one of the back end young quarterbacks, or do I just say fuck it? I can take the potential RB1. And I think right now he is the consensus RB1. There's definitely people that would still rather have Jonathan Taylor.
Mhm.
Yeah,
We'll get into that later.
yeah. But I mean, like, yeah, if you do a rookie draft, it's like Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, Burrow, Herbert, Lawrence, Lamar, Kyler, Fields, like, and then you have still Chase.
Put some
Jefferson.
spec on Daniel Jones' name.
So
Daniel
if you
Jones.
had Breece Hall and you didn't think he was the RB1, what is an offer that you would buy him from me for? Because I'm honestly thinking about potentially selling Breece Hall.
If I have Breece Hall, I'm trying to go for and you don't think he's the RB1, I'd try to get Bijan.
I just think that I'd have to pay up too much to get Bijan. I was thinking about
I don't think you'd have
would
to do that
would you
much
go
on
2
top of
firsts for Breece Hall?
Would I?
Would you offer 2 firsts?
Or like,
for him?
we just
you're
doing,
half
like,
you're a good
random
team. You're a good
firsts?
team.
Like-
You're a good team.
oh, if it's too late first,
You're just a good team.
okay.
Yeah, I'd give
yeah,
up 2.
yeah, I would do that.
Would you give up anything more than 2 firsts? Like 2 firsts and a third, 2 firsts and a second.
Yeah, if I'm,
I would
deciding
be
that-
more willing to do 2 firsts and some player that they find interesting.
If they asked for the third and that's what it took to get it done, then yes. The second, I'd probably try to get a third back. Like if I'm throwing in the second.
Yeah, I'm
and
just
Breece
trying
Hall
to
in the
find
third.
what is the point of maximum return for Breece Hall. That's
It's
basically what I'm
basically
trying to
2
figure out.
firsts. I think it's basically 2 firsts plus whatever you get is a top, a little cherry on top.
Yeah, probably like late second. That-
I think there are
don't-
leagues where
top of
you
them.
might be able to get like 3 late first,
I think
especially if 2 are
I
in
think,
like 2025 or something like that.
Oh yeah, no. If you're like, I'm assuming now it's just kind of later half first, so I'm thinking like 108. Like if you have someone who's like pretty confident they're going to be in the 110 to 112 range, you'll
Well,
probably get 3.
if you were in the second, third, and 20 league, please contact Frank Entwistle if you are interested in buying Breece Hall.
So for 2 first. But yeah, I mean the move that I like if you really want to pivot out would be like I'd be trying to get like Dobbins in a first.
If you
for him.
want, I think you might be able to get Breece Hall on discount though if you just wait to the beginning of the season, because I mean we've seen ACL injuries, you don't come back right away. You might
Yeah,
be able to
when
buy
they
a
say
dip.
like he's not in training camp yet and he dips. The
Mhm.
same thing happened with Dobbins coming back from his
Yeah,
injury. Like,
Dobbins
everyone was
injury
high on
was
him.
worse too. He like destroyed his knee.
Mhm.
It wasn't
I think,
the
well,
same.
the other thing with Dobbins is that I'm not sure if you heard the story, but he kind of like they did the surgery or whatever and said like, yo, my knee does not feel right. And then he went
Mhm.
back in and they did another procedure. So he kind of had
Yeah.
a double whammy there. So it's a little bit unfortunate. All right, Drake London. What are we thinking? Buy, sell, hold, buy Drake London?
I'm buying all Falcons that
Buy.
get this discount from this team. They just can't
Buy.
maintain this.
What is Drake London
low
on Keep Drake
passing
Cut right
volume.
now?
52.89.
No. Like what? We're at wide receiver rank. Excuse me.
Wide receiver.
He's a wide receiver
14.
14. He's not this. He's not.
I think you have to take him at if you have him at the 14th receiver off the board in a startup. I think that's pretty good.
Are you going down the list of where they were taken at the beginning of the year? Because he is not wide receiver 1 currently. Drake London, like he's not.
He's not.
He's not
rookie.
102.
He's rookie.
Yeah, he's-
I'm just
5.
naming them off the top of my head.
oh, okay. Because yeah, I thought if we're going,
I don't
off
want
that,
to.
But this is interesting, right? Because you took him at 102, and he's wide receiver 14. Drake London's still a buy. Like,
Yeah, I
I don't
think
think
he's
you're too unhappy.
No, I
No.
don't think you're unhappy, but I definitely think. I mean, maybe I'm wrong with some people. If you could redo it, you'd probably take one of those other receivers.
I would take.
Well, maybe
You
not
would take
receiver.
one
I would
other
take
receiver.
Garrett Wilson.
You
Yeah.
would definitely
wouldn't
take Garrett Wilson.
Drake London.
Yeah.
I think
I
the
don't
other
know,
guys,
Chris
it's a little.
Olave.
It
I
might be a
think-
little too early to tell.
I think you'd have to kind of think about Olave.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
sticking with
obviously
London.
Olave would be
You-
in the
you-
question, but
He's been good with Andy.
Yeah,
Dalton.
yeah, he has been good. But it's not like he's head and shoulders above
No.
anyone else necessarily. He's probably having the best year at anyone, but we've seen guys in their rookie year have the better year and other guys overtake them. It's
Yeah,
not
for
like
sure.
anything new.
No, I do still
Um,
think Drake London's a
But
stud.
I'm honestly thinking
He's more of a just a hold for me.
Drake London I like as a price in startups, but what can you get in terms of draft pick compensation back for a guy like Drake London?
In this draft, you probably get like 105 or 106.
You could probably swing like a 2024 first and second, I would guess.
That's what I was thinking, and
That's probably the smarter move. Yeah.
I'm not really sure if that's worth it or not.
I don't think I'd give up London for that. But it's
If
close.
that pick has any chance of being top half, top 6, you do it.
I think so.
Well,
too.
I'm just thinking of it from the perspective I traded DJ Moore for that this season, and I was kind of firm on doing that because I just didn't really think that DJ Moore was going to become a top 5 receiver or didn't have that potential. He could kind of weasel into that like Stephon Diggs did, and once he actually gets on an offense that's really good, is able to like pop off. But Drake London, he's wide receiver 14, and we all said he was undervalued. So that basically means we all think he's a low-end wide receiver 1 in Dynasty. I'm not sure that's worth trading for a most likely playoff level team first and second.
I don't know if
2
he's
seconds.
undervalued.
How about
I don't
2
know if
seconds?
I don't know if he's undervalued at wide receiver 14. I
Wait,
think
how do
it's
you get
more so-
from
2
he's
seconds.
a fringe
No, a first
wide
and 2 seconds.
receiver? Oh, first in 2 seconds. Okay. I see.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't think he's underrated at wide receiver 14. I think that's a fair ranking for him. Because
Okay.
I was just going through some of the guys ahead.
What about a
it's hard-
first and 2 seconds if you had him?
If I
I mean,
if I
that's
had
more like realistic, I think. Just because I think if you have a guy who has Drake London, he probably was the guy who drafted him last year and is probably semi-attached to the guy because was used a 102
Mhm.
pick on him. So you got to throw a little more than a first and a second. So you say, I'll give you 2 seconds, a first and 2 seconds, and call it a day. If that's what you're looking to do, I think both parties are probably going to come out pretty happy just because one will end up with picks in a very loaded 2024 class, or this class is great as well. And the other ends up with the guy they want and a good young wide receiver prospect in Drake London.
GT, which side of the fence would you be on there on that offer?
The first and 2 seconds or Drake London?
Yeah.
is this a 24?
Assume a
2024.
2 24 picks and a 25 pick.
25.
25 second.
I just think like what I've seen from Drake London I really like is just he hasn't had the opportunity. So at that point I think I'm just gonna go with Drake London. Like I think he has potential to put himself into that top 10, potentially top 5 if he can boom, because he is just that big body, like good receiver who can command a target share. But I mean, the Falcons got to pass the ball, and I don't think Desmond Ridder is going to be a solution to that.
No, it's tough because I do agree with everything you just said. I think I would take the picks though. We're assuming it's like a random first, or
Yeah,
maybe it's
just
like a
good
decent,
level team.
I think I'm taking the picks, and not anything
It's
against Drake
close.
London. It's just a lot of. I probably would have declined the first in just 1 second, but 2 seconds I can use that to move up with that first round pick. I think I would take the picks, but it's close. I mean, I'm high.
I was initially leaning the picks, but now I actually think I might take Drake London because I think JT's right in that there's a as long as the Falcons do basically anything at quarterback, which if they don't, that's absurd. I don't know what you're doing. so that they're not the 31st passing offense in the NFL. Like we could get that up to like 22 or like 24 and we'll be chilling.
You have 2 top 10 picks in the past 2 drafts as your like skill players, and you're not passing the ball to them. And it just doesn't make sense.
So like I think that this time next year there's not a crazy with how young London is, that there's not a crazy world where he can be a top 10 receiver and be worth potentially what a guy like Waddle is right now, as like a wide receiver 7, wide receiver 8, and then you might be able to comfortably get 2 late firsts or equivalent value in players. All right, player number 3. Who do you want to talk about? Let's just do Garrett Wilson now.
Bye.
Now, what do you
like,
have to pay
superstar
for Garrett
potential.
Wilson?
A lot. You're gonna get close
Too
to
much.
More than 2
You-
firsts.
It's that
Too
2 first
much.
price, a little bit more.
He's not more than Brees Hall. Like,
2
he just
firsts
can't
and a
be.
second.
No,
I'm not paying that for Garrett Wilson.
I don't think I'm paying that. I think the only way
I
I
don't think you have
possibly
to.
get Garrett Wilson is if I trade up.
You have to give
If-
up another good young player.
Yeah, if you give up Christian Watson and a first.
I do. That.
Okay.
I definitely trade
I think
I think Jake's right in that sense. It has to be another valuable player and then some draft capital, not just all draft capital.
Well, I think realistically, one of the ways you'd have to do it is going from potentially one of the top end assets, like one of the top quarterbacks, into a Garrett Wilson. And that's probably the easiest way that you'll get it done if someone's looking to buy a quarterback. But that is tough to trade for him. Now, let's say startup draft world. He's probably not in the Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase realm, right?
no, definitely not.
But how much far further behind is he? Because I imagine, to me, in a startup draft, Garrett Wilson, I want as probably a top 5 receiver off the board.
He is.
I think
If he is
he's the end of the
competent-
second round kind of player.
I would take him earlier than the end of the second round.
Really? In a super flex startup?
That is where CD's ADP a lot of the time, where AJ Brown, whoever the wide receiver 3 was, he was
They go into
generally
the
going
second.
earliest mid-second, latest very early third.
Okay, then maybe mid to later second. Yeah, I guess late second because of all the QBs that are going to go there. Yeah, I don't know. I view him like in that tier with like Waddle, AJ Brown. Maybe not. I don't know. I have AJ Brown at receiver 3, but I view him close to like CD and like.
I
those
think I
guys.
do too. I think Garrett Wilson's a stud, to be honest.
I think if he is competent QB play all year, it's a different view on him. Right now, because
I mean, he's already wide receiver 7. How much higher could he possibly go?
He's exactly where you want him to be. He's a good player.
Yeah.
Wide receiver 6.
All right.
Thank you,
Sure.
Lucas. All right. Want to move on to our next guy?
Yeah.
Sure.
Kenneth Walker. I think we're going to
Sell.
across the board say
Everyone's
so.
gonna
he
say
is running
so.
back too. We're going to do the running back rankings later, but spoiler alert, none of us had him as running back too.
No one has him in the top 5. There you go.
If
I
I'm
did.
a contender with Kenneth
Did you?
Walker, I think this is a
Yeah.
classic time to do the I'm just going to trade down into a vet and net the profit in draft capital. You
Yeah.
can
Because it'll
easily,
probably be a first.
now you may want to wait so that you can see kind of, because the running back landscape every year is a
Yeah,
complete shit show.
especially I think this year especially we're going to see a lot of movements. Josh Jacobs is a free agent. Kareem Hunt's a free agent.
Miles
I'm
Sanders.
sure
Miles Sanders,
Tony Pollard. There's a lot of free agent running backs here, and as well as just running backs get cut every year because no one wants to pay them. So I would agree. Hold out
But
on
the
running
thing
backs.
that I like about it is that you can go from an attractive player and get one of those underpriced, unattractive players, right? This is the time period where the Mixons of the world, they're trending down, they're older, and they're going to be going more. Most people that have Mixon are going to say, oh, well, I want to sell them for that keep trade cut price. So you're going to be able to get under that keep trade cut price. And you could get a fair bit of value potentially on top of guys like that. You just got to play around the market and see which dudes are really willing to sell these vets low.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I do want to say real quick. I'm definitely not buying Kenneth Walker. I think so. It's like you should be seeing what you can get. I'm not going to fault anyone for holding him though. at this price. He's been like
You're
he's
losing a lot of
not
value
an easy
holding.
sell.
I think I would fault. I would fault someone.
You're
for
losing
holding
a
him
lot
right
of
now.
value holding him.
I just think no matter what you want to do, if you want to contend, I honestly think you can get a player that's going to get more points for cheaper. And if you want value, you can go get a contender player for cheaper and gain value. You do both in the same deal. You can do both.
I think there's a more likely than not scenario that some other running back ends up on this team and really diminishes his value. I don't know.
I don't know about that.
Kenneth Walker. The thing is, he does have the
good.
potential. He has the potential to be a fucking sick back.
Like,
I'm just not going to be putting my chips on there. I just think he's too overvalued.
He kind of does, but he's not catching passes, and that was always the knock against him. He has like one game this year where he caught a decent amount of passes. It doesn't change a whole lot. He's not all of a sudden going to become a big pass catching running back. So then you have to be like an elite runner, which he's a good runner, but he's not Nick Chubb. Like he's an above average runner, and if you're not going to be that 3 down back with, where we're looking with Kenneth Walker, it's just to have him as a running back too, you're losing a lot of value keeping him.
I don't think he's the running back too, but I think obviously his price is going to be absurdly high. I don't know. I guess I'm the highest on him here. I see him being one of the better pure runners in football. Right. I do think there's some receiving upside. He's had a game with 8 catches earlier this year for 55 yards. He had one with 5 2 weeks ago. I don't know. I think he's really good. I think the Seahawks are really going to lean on him on offense next year.
We spent a decent amount of time talking about him, but that just means we'll save it later come the running back rankings.
Yeah.
How many more you want to do? Because I think Chris Olave is an interesting one. We got plenty of time. Yeah, Chris Olave.
All right, let's do Chris Olave. Where is he on keep?
He's wide receiver 10. He's 56-43. He's pretty firmly in between Kenneth Walker and Drake London. Like he's roughly about the same value distance between either up and down. Value adjacent players, he's in between DK Metcalf and Tyreek Hill.
So he's just a third round startup guy. He's just going in the third every draft in a 12-man draft, super flex.
I like him. I like him a lot. He's kind of proven me wrong this year in how good he is. So I feel bad saying what I'm about to say. I still think he's a sell at that price, even though I think he's really good. It's just there are some guys after him. That if you want to compare him to, obviously there's preference, but if you prefer Drake London, there's still guys. The next thing I was gonna say, Stephon Diggs, he's ahead of. I know Stephon Diggs is older, but maybe a DK Metcalf. I don't know why he's ahead of Devontae Smith, being it's only a 2-year difference. I don't know.
The issue I have with Chris Olave. So the issue I have with Chris Olave is exactly the issue I had during the draft, which is he's good, but he's not great.
He's very good.
So he's your plug and play wide receiver 2, week in, week out, and that's great. But he doesn't offer me that top end wide receiver 1 upside that you see with Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, all blah blah blah, all the likes. Tyreek Hill this year has been absurd. So he doesn't offer me that. And I think he's a very good wide receiver that is going to continue to do exactly what he did this year, which is put up close to 1,000 yards or be on pace to put up close to 1,000 yards and about 5 to 6 touchdowns, which is going to put him in that wide receiver 2 conversation year in, year out. And that's great. But to be valued at wide receiver 10 is too high.
Can I say something? I think he's an okay hold.
I think he's a fine hold.
Yeah, I was so out on Olave. I still think a bit of it is fraudulent, but I mean he's proving me wrong, and he's playing pretty good. He was putting up decent numbers with Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton as his quarterback. I mean, at some point you gotta get a better team. You're gonna get better.
And also, to his credit, he's been going up against number 1 corners the majority of the season.
Yeah, he proved me wrong, but. Look, I'm not going out and buying Chris Olave at wide receiver 10 prices, but
I'm not. Yeah,
I don't think it's an issue. I don't have any issue holding Chris Olave.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it really depends if you could pivot to one of those. I guess the big name that stuck out.
To me, it's just like if you want to go for the upside, why not pivot Olave into Burks plus? Like it just like if you want to play that game, then that's what I do.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate that at all. But
how much plus?
I mean, we could do just the standard whatever keep trade cut spits out, and that's gonna
what would it be? An early second?
Are you getting that? Second.
See, for me, when I'm looking at that, I'm looking at the receivers around him. I don't even hate pivoting up, like adding a quick asset to Olave to be able to get a Garrett Wilson. To be able. I mean,
you could probably pivot up into
T. Higgins.
I think T is technically below him at this point, but
T. Higgins is still 2 spots ahead of him, just barely in value. It's 200 point difference.
But like, so on keep trade cut, it is a 2025 mid second, which is basically a 2023 late second between Burks and Olave.
I think I would just keep Olave at that point.
Yeah, but I think if you can get an early second from a team, right? I think that's probably worth it. Even though I'm not huge on Burks, I actually had him and Olave right next to each other in prospect rankings. But if you can get an early one, I think it might be worth it because I think this draft, you're going to get some steals in that early second round. But
I think an early second's a little expensive for someone that has Burks. I'm just not sure you're going to get an early second on top of it. Mid second, you might be able to sell.
Mid second, probably.
What I would like to do is I'd like to just straight up 1-for-1 trade Chris Olave for Drake London, because I think you're getting potential superstar for someone that I think is very good, but not.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't mind tearing down. If you're saying like, okay, I can tear down into Devontae Smith, into DK Metcalf, just pick your poison of what other good receiver you like that's right behind him in any value. I agree with that. But like JT said, if I'm drafting him in the 3rd round of a startup, if I'm picking him up at wide receiver 10 price, I think that's fine in the long run. Like, yeah, he might fluctuate down to wide receiver 15, but who fucking cares, right? Like, he's just a good player, and I know he's going to be a good player. At least good.
All right, next guy on this list. I don't know who you guys want to discuss now, I guess. Okay, Treylon.
I think what you should do with Treylon Burks is trade him in a mid-second for Chris Olave.
Treylon for me right now.
Dude, we can make this happen in the second, third, and 20 league.
I think that would have got me. Who has Olave? Who has Burks?
I have Olave.
I think I view Treylon as I'll say hold. But if I couldn't pick hold, I would lean more on the sell side.
Yeah,
I really like him.
I'm taking buy.
I'm on the same here with Lounis, where I'll hold, but if you really pull my arm, I'd probably sell.
And it's
I don't know,
and it's not so much. Go ahead, JT.
The thing is, like, we've seen a lot of the other rookies find success. Like Garrett Wilson and Christian Watson and Chris Olave, we've seen them have success. I think Treylon Burks' scenario is just so very different from basically any of the main big guys that have been playing well. I think when we see Treylon Burks healthy and when he's in the focal point of this Tennessee offense in terms of Tennessee pass attack, obviously Derrick Henry is always going to be the main focal point. When he's the main focal point of the Tennessee pass attack, I think he's a very good player. I think he's that's a good buy at wide receiver 22. It's just like, the same kind of issue with AJ Brown. This team just does not pass a lot, so he kind of has to be like AJ Brown to put up, decent numbers. So,
but even then, AJ Brown's like best seasons in Tennessee. It was like 1,100 yards.
He was good. He had good finishes. But look, I'm willing to buy at a discount compared to, where he was at the beginning of the year, where he was in the wide receiver like 15 range, now all the way down to wide receiver 22. I'm willing to buy at that discount to take the swing. I guess I'll call it the swing on Treylon Burks being good, because I mean, we're only a year removed, not even a year really, like 6 months removed from tier of his own wide receiver talk of Treylon Burks. Obviously things didn't break his way, but at the price he's at, I think it's fine. I'd buy.
So the only problem I have with Treylon Burks is I think he's a little expensive right now, because it seems like he's over a first round pick, which I think is, I can understand both sides of the coin. I wish he was a little bit cheaper to say that he's a buy, but I will definitely say that I think at the end of the day he's a hold, and this is a lesson that I learned from Michael Pittman. His rookie year, nothing tremendous, was hurt for, he played hurt, all that kind of stuff in his rookie year, but he had a couple of games where you saw that he was the focal point of the offense as a rookie and played pretty well. I was like, okay, I'm just going to sell for not necessarily whatever I can get, but like I'm going to sell him around that price that he was at, which ended up being a bad move. I see a similar potential path for Burks, but that's almost why I say I wish he was a little bit cheaper, just because, man, if I can re-roll into a first or anything on top of a first, if you're lucky, that's a lot.
Would you guys rather have Treylon Burks or Jordan Addison?
I think I'd rather have Addison.
It's close. That's where I disagree with Frank, because I'd still be willing to pay, into the first round for Treylon Burks. Like I'd rather Treylon Burks.
No, I'm saying Jordan Addison's probably like 108.
Kayshon.
108. I don't know about that. Maybe
roughly. Yeah, roughly.
If he's wide receiver 3 and Quentin Johnson, JSN, Gibbs, Bijan, 2 quarterbacks, maybe a third goes ahead. That's 7 if you get a third QB ahead of him.
He's probably, Addison's probably 7.
Yeah, 7.
I think I was swinging on Addison.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's a move where I'm upgrading my hit rate there.
Yeah, you are. That's where I agree with you. So, your upper limit is way higher. You have a way bigger swing that you can hit. Yeah.
But if you can't get bites, I am not selling Treylon low. I will panic sell if I see dog shit in the beginning of the year. Like, okay, we'll be doing the pod then, hopefully. So like, talk to me then about if he sucks, right? Like, I don't know. All right, next player.
Jameson
Kenny
Williams?
Pickett.
Okay, Kenny Pickett. Sell.
Buy.
What is Kenny Pickett?
I don't know. I don't know what to think of Kenny Pickett.
Buy.
I have no idea what to think of Kenny Pickett.
Jake, you of all people?
People are high on him.
14, but he's not worth a first round pick. There's a huge gap between him and Lance.
He's just not. He's not a good fantasy quarterback.
He's not, but I mean, it's his rookie season.
I'll tell you what, he's winning the city of Pittsburgh right now. The city of Pittsburgh's starting to really like Kenny Pickett. Him. Yeah. They're starting to really like.
Yeah, listen, like I don't care how much. I'm someone who didn't understand like kind of all like the love he's been getting this year, but like he's had 2 straight games with like fourth quarter last second strikes to win the game. Especially that throw to Najee was nice. That was But I'm not picking buying. I'm more so deciding beside holding or selling. That's more so fair, defending my hold.
We have seen a lot of players like kind of just struggle, and then all of a sudden it clicks. And it's not that they struggled in terms of they sucked. Like it was like just okay, you've seen the flashes, but it just wasn't consistent. And they had a couple of mistakes here and there, which would put them behind the chains, which resulted in punts. Right? You clean that up. You keep the flashes going, and we've seen those types of players pan out recently. At the 4,100 price that he's at, I think he's more of a buy than a sell.
I also think you can get him slightly lower, because I think a lot of people still have the JT attitude here of he's not a good fantasy quarterback. And I think you can get him for slightly cheaper. And if you can get him for a back end first round pick, I don't hate it. It's not necessarily it's not necessarily a move I'm going out looking for, and I'd more be looking to pivot. into him somehow if I could. But other than that, you know, I do like Kenny Pickett. I think he's shown some stuff the past few weeks, so I'm in.
I think the other point I'll make though is that he's in a great fucking spot in Pittsburgh because he's gonna have to really suck for the Steelers to completely give up on him.
Yeah, and also, I mean, kind of like going into the thing next year, he'll finally have like a full off season, being like the undisputed starter heading into training camp. We've seen guys kind of take leaps into the second season. I know the coaching change had something to do with it with Trevor Lawrence, but we saw the leap Trevor Lawrence has taken. Justin Fields, we saw Jalen Hurts, not so much his rookie year to second year, but first year starting to second year starting. That's tough. I don't think I can go as
than his rookie year right now.
I don't think I can go as far to say I'm going out and buying him, but I'll say hold.
He's such a sell for me. Same thing as Mac Jones, as Derek Carr. He's just that kind of quarterback who, like, decent, can help your team win games, but he's not going to help your fantasy team win games. He's going to give you slightly more points than that random quarterback that you could get off the waiver wire, like a Taylor Heineke, whoever else is filling in this year, Colt McCoy, any of those guys. Like, he's going to get you like 15 points a game compared to those guys like 10 to 12. And it's just not worth it at that kind of price.
I don't know. I think it's as binary as Pickett's worth less than a first right now. I can pick him up for less than a first, and I really think that half a year from now he's worth a first round pick, if not a smidge more.
Oh, you've bought in.
I just think that there's a really good path in his sophomore year because the Steelers have some picks too. We can add some talent to that offensive line, which would be a major add. We're not really losing anyone.
They have weapons.
So I just think that we're going to look at the Steelers offense next year as, oh yeah, look at all the tools. Like, and then kind of like Mac Jones did, he crept up. Mac Jones was worth over a first round pick for a decent chunk of time.
Yeah, but this is where you run into the issue of like Zach Wilson. Like Zach Wilson, the Jets picked up all these tools. They literally surrounded him with, like we were saying at the beginning of the year, there's like no excuse for him to fail. And they failed.
Kenny Pickett's like recent stretch has been better than any stretch of Zach Wilson's career.
I mean, he's not like, dude. I don't know. Like,
Zach Wilson has had.
Zach Wilson has never had more than one good game in a row.
You're misunderstanding. I'm not buying Kenny Pickett long term. I'm buying him and selling him at the beginning of next year. That's what I'm doing.
I don't like. Okay. I think it's hard to flip quarterbacks more than most positions.
It's
if
hard.
I can pick him up at that price, I'm picking him up.
Like, you know, Kenny Pickett's QBR 49.9, touchdown 6, interception 9. Like Zach Wilson.
Yeah, but he had a really rough start. He started like 0 or like 1 to 5, and then I think he had one bad game in the past like month. But he's been getting better with it. I don't know.
Say he's
I think I'm holding
worse than Zach Wilson. I mean, better than Zach Wilson so far. I don't. We're going down a rabbit hole.
He's just not.
Yeah.
Like he's winning games. Like I'll give him that.
Yeah,
but
he's not losing the Steelers.
He's been good in the 2-minute drill.
Saying.
Like he's made plays when he's had to, but.
No, but
let's not get it twisted. TJ Watt and that defense is out there making fucking plays, dude.
Okay, and that was the same thing with the Jets. The problem was like more so Kenny Pickett isn't actively losing you the games, and Zach Wilson was actively losing the Jets the games. That's more so what I mean. Like the past couple, I think he's had like one bad game out of his last 5 in terms of like turnovers and stuff. And I don't know, man. That throw to Najee, I was like, damn. I don't know. That's the best play he's had in his rookie season so far, in my opinion. And I was like, okay, it's something. He had a good game against the Bengals when he went up against Joe Burrow. I'm not buying, but I'll say hold. Who's the next rookie?
Jameson Williams.
I think Jameson Williams.
Do we want to wrap it up with JMO?
Sure. No, let's keep going. We got time. Let's keep going.
JMO, I say hold on the side of buy.
Yeah,
I'll say buy.
Shit. You're the Jameson truther. You're going to say buy. He's undervalued. Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, I don't know. He's still coming back from ACL injury. He hasn't really played for. He hasn't really played over 20% of snaps.
Lounis bought him for like 2 firsts right at the draft.
No, not 2 firsts.
First and 2 seconds, whatever it was.
First and 2 seconds. Yeah. I would still buy at that price, especially considering it's like contender.
You would
later
buy
for
him
pick.
for a first and 2 seconds.
For mine in our home league, yeah. You also have to
So, like,
consider
if
mine
as a
like,
good
on the
team, he's
later
got one of the
side.
better contending teams for reference.
Yeah.
Do you have him
Yeah.
above Drake London still? Like he's still?
Yeah. I tweeted my wide receiver 1 and 2 last spring, and I haven't wavered from it. It's Garrett Wilson and J-Man.
So there's just no panic with the fact that he's not really seeing the field.
No, he just came back from an ACL tear.
Bro, they sat him
he
out the
had-
first 8 weeks for the ACL tear. He's still not seeing the field.
He's just still so.
Yeah,
like,
when he
I
got
don't hate
hurt.
Jamison Williams. He's just so.
No, he got
expensive,
hurt, and
man.
he's a rookie. And how many rookies sometimes need a little bit to get going? I mean, look
Like,
at your
there's
guy
a
Christian
very
Watson.
reasonable chance on these keep trade cover. You could just pay Jamison Williams and a little bit more and pick up Devontae Smith or DK Metcalf or fucking Cooper Kupp.
I don't
I
know.
mean, shit, you could trade him down into Pittman.
I think even if you want to sell him, you take the Pickett approach you were talking about, because I think when he's playing, he's going to produce.
He's just a top. He's basically valued as a top 15 dynasty receiver. It's nuts. That is
17.
nuts.
Yeah, he's a sell for me. Because all right, theoretically, you probably have to take him in what, the 4th round, beginning of the 4th, mid 4th.
In startup drafts,
You can start up to get that kind of player.
Probably. What, mid 4th for wide receiver 17?
Yeah.
I'm thinking 15. So 48 picks. I'm thinking 15 to 20 quarterbacks go. I'm thinking you probably have 8 or so running backs. Probably 2 tight ends, maybe 3. So that's what, 26.
There might be.
Where are we predicting his value in a startup draft?
Yeah, where you take
I
him.
think he'd be going somewhere in the 4th to 5th round.
4th round. I don't
Yeah.
want to spend that on Jameson Williams.
Not even close.
Because I think that 4th round is where you start to see, or maybe like late 3rd, the Cooper Kupps and like that really high scoring veteran type players, right? That's where Tyreek Hill was going.
Mhm.
Was like late 3rd, early 4th. So you're going to see all of them go.
Yeah.
And that's the price you're going to have to pay. And I like Jameson Williams. He could definitely be a guy that improves off of that, but you have the Lounis's, man. There's too many of you guys out here.
There's
There's too many of you guys
Lounis's.
saying like fucking 2 firsts. I'd send it out, no problem. And it's like,
We
yeah,
are
well, you guys have
overpopulated
them
by
all
Lounis's.
already.
To be fair, I didn't send 2 firsts.
Very
I
close.
sent a first and 2 seconds that were all later in the draft.
Listen,
But I don't know.
I didn't
I'm
send
not-
2 firsts. I sent 2 seconds, 2 thirds, 9 fourths, and a 5th. Like,
And my kidney. No, I don't know. I'm not really over concerned on like first couple games with a low snap count with him coming off an ACL tear. I'd be more concerned if it's like obviously if he's like healthy and went through training camp and just can't get on the field. I think it's a bigger worry. But
let's
we've
speed run a
seen
couple of these
guys.
though. Yeah. Sorry, I want to get through more guys. James Cook.
So
I don't even know what he's valued at, but
So
it's too
just
high,
ma-
whatever it is.
He was going up.
So-
He has been going up. He's been having some nice weeks, but I don't know.
There's just always there's always someone on the horizon in running back world, and if you're a James Cook level player, it seems like it's very easy for you to get replaced.
I feel like the Bills are gonna kind of get like similar to how the Patriots are with running backs. Well, maybe up until Ramondre Stevenson. I don't know what they're gonna do with him if he's gonna finally be the guy they stick with. But the Bills just have so many guys that they have to pay major money to. I don't ever see them kind of sticking with the running back long term. I expect them to probably draft another guy in the next year or two.
Yeah, but what about just the playoffs? I think that with the increased workload that he's been getting, it's not a ton, but it's more than he was getting on the big stage. That's what happened to Devin Singletary. If you remember.
You're right. And no, it happened to Gabe. I should specify my take. I'm not sell right now. Sell after the NFL postseason.
But if he does nothing in the postseason, once again, people are watching.
I don't think
it's going to be a volatile time.
I don't think he'll go down as much as he could possibly go up this postseason. Like, I think if he has a quiet, but like it won't be as big a deal. People will just be like, okay, it was a game or two. But if he does have a good game, it could look at what happened to Gabe Davis.
See, I think
Gabe Davis's rankings after that Chiefs game was absurd.
I think to me, with looking at his price, he is apparently a top 100 asset, James Cook. He's firmly in the I will just trade James Cook and basically any second to get into the first. Maybe not one of the super early ones this year, but James Cook in a 24 second for a 24 first. James Cook in a 25 second for a 25 first. I will take that value jump all day, all the way to the bank. Name another rookie. Who do we want to talk about? Brian Robinson.
Pickens.
Let's do Pickens.
Pickens. So, you got points for highlight catch. Be much more in on Pickens.
He'd be the wide receiver 1 then.
I'm gonna say hold on Pickens. I know like the production has been super inconsistent. I don't think like it's not really a high scoring offense, and Pickett has been a rookie. I think he's shown the talent and ability to be like a number 1 in the NFL.
Actually, looking where he's ranked around.
For me, he's a hold. I'm not going to sell low on the rookie year.
To me, I actually think I might have Pickens as more of a buy, simply because
his flashes have been like.
I think he's just a fairly priced asset. You know, going into a startup draft, like if I could land him at wide receiver 19 or 20 off the board, which is where he's at on Keep Trade Cut, I'll do that. But he's just in that other tier of receivers because another guy, Michael Pittman, is a very similar valued receiver, in my opinion. DJ Moore is probably around there. So I think that he's just a little bit more of a buy than, I'm going to hard sell. I might see what I can get, because if you could get, let's say, a quasi-random first and a second-round pick for George Pickens, I'd think about it.
I would think about it.
Say that again?
Just like a random first and not like a great first, right? It's got a chance. It's a team trying to turn the corner, and they're taking a risk, and they're taking Pickens. Pickens is a pretty flashy asset. I think you can get a pretty decent first for him right now. And a random playoff team second, like a late second guaranteed. That'd get me thinking.
Yeah, I think it starts the conversation, but I don't know. People I think that similar to Lounis with JMO, you're going to find people like me that just love George Pickens. The guy has shown everything you want. He just hasn't had the opportunity. They traded away Claypool at the deadline. That he stepped in better in the second half, and you want to keep seeing him, progress into next season. So that's why it's just a tough sell at wide receiver 20. You're not getting that top 15 price. You're not getting that top 10 price where you think he can get to. It's just a tough one for me. I think that starts the conversation, though. Absolutely. If you say first and a second, I think you'll get the deal done a lot of the time.
I mean, potentially another move off the top of my head, trying to get up into London.
From Pickens?
Which seems from these prices pretty cheap. The reason I would is I feel like Drake London has such an easier path to being a 30% target share type receiver compared to Pickens.
Yeah, the ceiling of Drake London is like elite, where ceiling of George Pickens is very
I'd argue elite, his upside. I think that's part of the George Pickens appeal, is that he has the upside. Everyone knows he has the upside.
One talent.
No, he definitely does.
It's just whether he can put it together.
He could become a T. Higgins, where he
easily
jumps in, pops off, Steelers offense becomes good, and all of a sudden he's a top 10 dynasty receiver. That's definitely in the range of outcomes.
No, I agree.
But the fact of the matter is that it might only take like a 3rd round pick to get into London. There probably might be people that are just, I'd rather have Pickens than London based off of this year. Because at the end of the day, Pickens is up and London is kind of sideways. He's on a shitty offense.
Yeah, I love Pickens, but if I can flip for London,
JT, you want to make it happen?
Especially if it only takes a third, then that's a easy.
What do you
JT
mean?
wants London.
Yeah, I want London.
I know, it was a joke. So he'll never do it.
Yeah, I would never do that. But
all right, let's name another rookie.
Christian Watson. Oh, Jigs, you owe me a soda.
I think Christian Watson. Oh man,
Got him.
I'm gonna say
what kind you want? Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, sure.
Just because, I really do like what I've seen from Christian Watson, and
he's talented.
It's just I'm too scared of the flash in the pan. I'm too scared of the big plays. I'm gonna lean sell because he's a top 20 dynasty receiver.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna sell on the hype. It's too risky for me.
His fantasy production has been entirely unsustainable. It's a sell. Like it's just you don't have like 3 targets a game, 2 touchdowns. Like it's so unsustainable.
He's that red zone threat.
I don't know.
So is like the only time you see that is like the goal line tight ends. Like it's not.
For me, I've been really impressed by him. What was I gonna say? I would say I'm not gonna go as far to buy at that price, but I'm definitely holding. It's hard for me to sell. Just because I don't know, he's insanely impressive. He's burning corners, 6'4", can make contested catches. He looked good even with Jordan Love. I remember that Eagles game. Sunday night, him and Jordan Love were kind of cooking. It looks like they had chemistry from training camp when he was with the second unit. Again, I'm not going out and actively buying, but I'm not like actively shopping.
The problem with Christian Watson is, like JT said, one, the scoring is just very unsustainable. Too many big plays, too many long touchdowns. Too many touchdowns accounting for a percentage of his total points. Like, there's just a lot to it, on top of the fact that he's valued at wide receiver 19 right now. Like, you could pivot him into Drake London for not too much, and that's just an absolute absurdity to me that's even in a conversation.
I'm gonna see if I could find something fun here.
Yeah, dude, I'm looking at his numbers, man. I'm not buying into Christian Watson. That's ridiculous. Guys put up 500 yards.
I mean, to be fair, he hasn't done much until like week 8.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you go from,
he has one game with over 5 catches.
Here are the players that have caught 7 touchdowns this season. Tyreek Hill, he had 117 receptions. T. Higgins and Christian Kirk had about 7. They both had around 75 receptions. Devontae Smith 88, DJ Moore 62 receptions, and then you have these players: Gabe Davis 45, Jahan Dotson 32, and Christian Watson 36. Dewan Johnson 41. Like, I don't know if that doesn't give you kind of like these screaming red flags.
Dude, Christian Watson is literally Gabe Davis this year.
Yeah, if that doesn't give you guys like screaming red flags.
Dude, look at their numbers. They're literally like Christian Watson's Gabe Davis this year. I mean, he's a rookie, so like you expect it to always improve, but this to me is a classic example of the rookie player. Oh, Christian Watson's great. He's only going to improve. He's only going to become better. And it's just this like always rookie optimism. We see it every year with guys like Laviska Shenault going into the first round, and there's always too many young players too highly valued. You just have to try and shop, because if I can get a first and a second, or even more than a fucking first and a second, you bet your ass I'm getting out on Christian Watson. I don't give a shit if he becomes the wide receiver 1 in Dynasty. It's the right play.
Here's a very easy variance game that you could do for a trade. Sell Christian Watson for Deontay Johnson in a second. Next year, I'm sure they're going to be very close in points scored per game. If not, Deontay Johnson's outscoring him, and you just get a second on top.
What if you have both, JT? What then?
And then you sell Christian Watson. But Deontay Johnson 0 touchdowns, Christian Watson 7. Water always finds its level. Yeah, give me Deontay.
I mean, shit, you could just trade him for Gabe Davis plus, because you're getting the same player.
Christian Watson's a decent amount more talented than Gabe Davis.
Gabe Davis at least had one more game with 5 receptions or plus than.
Yeah, how many playoff touchdowns does Christian Watson have? Reel me that one, Lewis.
Let him cook this offseason. Let him cook.
I hope he does, and I hope his value goes way up.
I hope the Packers get nowhere near the playoffs.
I hope his value goes way up.
All right,
I do.
Rookie.
Damian Pierce.
Let's do Damian Pierce. Damian Pierce is the classic, like.
So
Yeah,
Always
I mean,
sell.
can you even sell him at this point?
But his value already fell. If you
Yeah,
wanted to,
his
I think the time to
value-
sell was mid-season.
It's still now.
He's still
It's always now.
He's still a top
I don't know.
75
what?
dynasty player on keep trade cut.
You know what I'm gonna say?
Don't say
I'm gonna say hold and sell during the season next year. I think there are
No,
gonna be a lot of
no,
eyes on
no,
that
no,
offense
no,
with
no,
him and
no.
Bryce Young.
Yeah,
I
but
think
who's to
they might
say
be
Miles
cooking.
Sanders doesn't show up there? Who's to
Yeah.
say,
Why
Josh
would the
Jacobs.
Texans go out and pay a
Because
running-
they're a stupid franchise. That's
also-
it.
you're
They're a
acting like-
What
stupid
rebuilding
franchise.
team is going out and
running
being
backs-
like, yeah, let
All
me
right, chill,
pay
chill, chill,
millions.
chill, chill.
you're acting like running backs go out into the market and just command like huge value. Like you never see if the Eagles let Miles Sanders go, he's not going to all of a sudden then get a big contract. Like he's not going to be that expensive. Josh Jacobs might be kind of expensive, but like
Not even.
yeah, running backs don't get paid. I'm not worried about that.
I think I'd rather have AJ Dillon over Damian Pierce. Definitely Dobbins.
Dobbins not even close. I think Dobbins is in a different tier, but I would take Pierce over AJ.
Going
Dillon.
into Kamara is interesting because there's so much upside with that move as a contender. Going from
I'll take
You just have to weather whatever happens with the
yeah,
rule.
you just have to be confident that Kamara's going to like pan out. Kind of like if you bought Zeke a couple years ago, it's not sexy right now, but he's giving you a good amount of points, right? So you could do something like that. I would go into Brian Robinson. I even think I might go into Cam Akers. Because realistically, I think they have a very similar amount of risk, and at least Cam Akers has been doing it recently.
I don't know. I guess I'm also going to be the
I
higher
like
one
Cam
on Damian
Akers,
Pierce
but-
for this segment.
But are you not
I-
just shit worried about Damian Pierce getting replaced at a moment's fucking notice?
Yeah.
Or not
but
I
was
replaced,
thinking-
was
added
earlier
someone.
this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they added the guy to be like behind him, but I think he's shown more this year than Michael Carter. Like we always use Michael Carter as a comp. I think he had a much better rookie year than Michael Carter
Did he?
did.
Okay, riddle me this,
Yeah.
Riddler. You see Damian Pierce, I see Damian Harris. And that's not the player.
He's
that I want
also
to invest
he's also shown more than Damian Harris has this season. If you watch
this
him, I don't know.
season? Yeah, he's shown more this season.
No.
Like-
Okay. Take Damian Harris's best season where he had all that goal line touchdowns. Damian Pierce this year, I think, if like just watching him play, he's shown to be a better runner. His yards after contact is kind of crazy. Like he's constantly. I don't know. I've been impressed with his running. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in someone next year and you have to worry about if he loses some of those passing down plays. But I think he could be good. I would say hold. I'm not going out and actively buying him, but I'd hold.
I'm actively selling.
Yeah, same.
I
What's
think
he at?
I think
RB what?
realistically he should be worth around what you drafted him at, and he is worth just more than that. You can
No, he's-
easily flip Damian Pierce into a first round pick. You give a smidge more.
Every
Yeah, it's
single
probably
time
gonna
I'm
be hard
taking
to
the
get
first
him.
round pick. Every single time.
I mean, fuck, you could probably use Damian Pierce to just get a better running back too.
Yeah.
I mean, how much do you have to give up for someone like Najee?
I'm not fully sure.
Potentially Swift.
I don't know. I've liked what I've seen from this year, and teams are always packing the box against the Texans because their passing game has zero threat whatsoever.
I mean, listen, if you've seen their recent games, they have no running threat either. They have no threat. They don't score. They don't do anything. There is no threat. You're the Texans. You lose every game.
Yeah,
That's
they do
what-
lose every game.
All right, we
Well, all
should
right.
Does have-
probably swap over to
Running back rankings.
Does have
the running back rankings.
Okay, cool. I don't know if you already have it up. Let me know.
No, I
Frank,
got to
when
get
you
it
do,
on here.
and
Hold
I'll
on a
do
second.
the reveals.
Where is? Dude, they changed this interface on me. What's going on?
Ooh, new interface.
Oh, here we go.
All right, I'll intro it while you're doing this. We're doing the top 10 running back rankings. We've always kind of said as a meme, what we're gonna do for this week, and we always like to mess with Lounis and say, oh, let's do the top 5 running back rankings because it's for the most part pretty standard. But now that the season's ended and we're going to include the incoming 2023 rookies, I do think it's an interesting I don't know, test. I don't know what to call it, experiment, to see where we kind of gauge this running back class compared to the field, as well as where we just rank, value versus longevity versus points versus, all the other stuff, pass catching versus pure running. There's a lot that we could do here. But yeah, I think Frank should now have it up.
Can I not make these boxes? Can I not just make this whole thing smaller? Like, I just altered the size of this column and now it just makes Jake's bigger.
I feel like I already hate my list.
To answer your question, Frank, I have no clue. Maybe from the outside going in, you can. Like, if you highlight the whole thing. No, I don't know.
Oh, I think that did work. Hold on a second. Nope. I don't know what's going on. I'm screwing everything up.
All right, well, you could just look at half our faces while we do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so kicking it off with running back 1 on the year. Frank, you are a little too wide here for me. All right. Here's our reveal. It's Bijan Robinson. Everyone across the board has Bijan Robinson as their running back 1, which does make him our consensus running back 1. I saw something, are we so sure that Bijan's going to be like good coming in? Yeah, I'm very sure.
He's probably the best running back prospect since Saquon.
I would,
yeah,
I would say so.
Yeah,
he's probably going to get drafted. I'll pull up the mocks right now. There's
And do you remember the year that Saquon was a rookie coming in? Everyone was between him or David Johnson for 101. And everyone was like, are we sure this rookie? Like, we should take David Johnson instead. Like, this was for like dynasty drafts then. So, because I remember when we started our league, those were like the top 2. And Jake ended up going with Saquon, which was the right decision. But a lot of people were picking David Johnson because it was like, oh, we don't know if this rookie is going to be as good. Bijan's that good.
So, how I phrase this. Being a Patriots fan, not really used to pulling up the mock drafts this early because typically we're in the playoffs. But I've been, due to recent years, I've been looking at mock drafts much more recently, and I found the NFL mock draft database, which is kind of like a collection of mock drafts across the board. I like it. It kind of just is a good way to find the pulse of what everyone's thinking. And essentially, it's all a guess. But Bijan Robinson looks pretty locked in to be a first-round pick. He's consensus 20th right now to the Bucks is what's being projected. His best overall pick was 5th. He seems to break into the top 15 a decent amount. So he's going to be a good first-round pick coming into this league. So, based on age, prospect, intangibles, athleticism, all that, Bijan Robinson, I feel pretty confident being the 101.
I mean, regardless, if we're in a startup draft, if we're making a trade, if you pick any other running back over Bijan Robinson, it's just a value losing move, which I would disagree with. So just if you have the 101, you can always pick Bijan and trade it back or trade out or whatever, right? Startup draft, you have the pick. You get the point.
True.
I just think you're almost forced into having him as the 101.
Now we finally get into our first disagreement, I guess is the word I'd use. Jonathan Taylor for Jake and Frank at 2. Breece Hall for me and Lounis at 2. So they're kind of tied there. I don't know. I'm going to reveal 3 as well because it's kind of just the same
reversed,
just flipped. Yeah, 2 and 3 we have Breece Hall and Jonathan Taylor.
Breece Hall was single-handedly carrying that Jets offense for a few weeks. He's a better receiver. He was breaking off long runs on a weekly. And I know Jonathan Taylor's a beast. I'm not going to be as down on him because of this year, because this year was just a shit show in general for the Colts. And he had some injuries throughout the year. And I still, like JT revealed, have him as Dynasty RB3. With, I think, there's a little bit of a tier break after him. Breece Hall is Breece Hall was closer to 1 than he was to 3 for me.
I think both these guys are pretty good buys right now. If you're going for running backs, I think you might as well shoot for the top. Go Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor, because I think, especially where you compare Jonathan Taylor's value at the start of this year compared to now,
Jonathan Taylor is a good buy.
I think he was definitely overinflated going into this year, but now I think he's undervalued at this point with how much he's dropped. And then Breece Hall, yeah, he is the running back 1 currently, but I think he could even be higher with how good he was in that little stretch.
I think they're fine. Same tier. Good, both good hero RB type players for a startup draft. You could put either one over each other. I don't care.
All right, now looking at 4, this is just here's where chaos begins, people, because literally we have 4 different running backs. I'm gonna start revealing 5 too, just to kind of see if we can have a semblance of who should be here. And look at that, CMC is 4th or 5th for 3 of the 4 of us. The only one who does not have him in his top 5 is Frank. I'm going to assume that's kind of age versus injury concern stuff, Frank, as to why you don't have CMC. It's
mainly just the age. I think CMC is a fine hold. I have him in like 1 or 2 leagues, and I'm not really looking to sell him as a contender. I'm just looking at it from the fact that I think that Javonte and Saquon, Javonte, you're losing a little bit on the talent. I understand that, but I love Javonte still as a prospect, and it's all due to age and the fact that I really think that CMC, we're entering that brutal point where any sort of negative thing that ever happens to CMC, his value completely plummets. So,
yeah, and that's a point that I considered, but it's just I'm willing to go until the wheels fall off on CMC, where most running backs I wouldn't be. But with him, it's just you're going to get so many points as long as he's healthy and playing that I don't really care. He's just such a cheat code.
Yeah, I also like how San Francisco is using him compared to Carolina. You see them kind of using him more on outside runs and passing plays, and using their other backs, Jordan Mason, earlier Elijah Mitchell, on a lot of those between the tackle runs, so it's kind of less wear and tear on him. And I think that was a really decent big deal for CMC, considering his injury history, when Carolina was just giving him the ball like 35 times a game, including in between the tackles and stuff.
Not gonna lie, I kind of forgot Elijah Mitchell existed until he just brought.
Well, no, when he was there, they were giving Elijah Mitchell all those like between the tackle carries, which I think is better for CMC.
I mean, once again, I just think that this third tier, the second tier more so for me, extends past 4 and 5. So like Saquon,
we can reveal
CMC. I have all of those guys in a.
I'll reveal 6 right here, and that's where we get our next guy.
I have 4 through 7 in the same tier.
Yeah, 6. We have 2 Saquon Barkleys and a Javonte, which does make Saquon Barkley our 5th consensus 5th running back. Oops, sorry, I did that the wrong way. Saquon is in a similar realm of CMC, where it's the age is becoming an issue soon, but at the same time, again, he's that workhorse running back, kind of starting to become rare and rare, and he's still catching passes and everything, like can do it all. Again, it's just kind of the age that's knocking him down, but I do truly still like both those guys, CMC and Saquon.
Same.
The thing is, I feel like when you were in that 26 to 27 season or 27 to 28 season, that's where you see the biggest drop-offs if you are not playing at an extremely high level.
Yeah,
and even players like Aaron Jones, who have played at an extremely high level, you were struggling to get a first-round pick in some trades, just 1-for-1 for a guy like Aaron Jones. As a contender, you're fine, right? If you're a hardcore contender, like, okay, you have CMC at 4 or 5 or whatever the fuck your dynasty rank, it doesn't matter. You're just gonna hold because you're trying to win.
So Saquon's 5, and now this is where we get into the whole real kind of pitch for your guys, because I mean, we're all over the place with who we have. I have Travis Etienne as high as 4.
So I said I already in my list. I have Travis Etienne at 7. I feel like he should be higher. I would have to think about how I want to do it.
But I have Travis Etienne at 7, and I feel like he should be lower.
And Jake doesn't even have him as
he doesn't even have him as
it's basically all because of me that he's inside the top 6 at all, like that he's running back 6, because I have him at 4. I just think the injury concerns are an issue. I also, was not that high on him coming into the league.
He has
because
to fix
was
the
that fourth
fumbling.
year. Fumbling is somewhat of a problem.
He has to fix the fumbling.
But
besides that, he's a good pass catcher. and
pass
he's been
catching,
really good runner.
in between now. I mean, he did just torch the
See,
Texans.
to me,
doesn't.
I don't really love ETN. I just feel like I'm getting a Kenneth Walker that catches passes. Now he's not as
that's fair.
powerful.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, I mean, that's why I feel like I'm forced to put him at 7th. In terms of like all the running backs in the league, like I'm not absolutely head over heels with ETN. I don't have a share of him in Dynasty. I'd be looking to sell him probably at his current price, but fact of the matter is that he's still a pretty good Dynasty running back. So
I'm not selling ETN. I think his value is only going to go up. That Jags offense next year is going to be great. If it looks like how it has the second half of this season for a full year next year.
See, I don't know. I just think that there's too much optimism surrounding ETN. He has the slightest hiccup. All of a sudden, you're holding a J.K. Dobbins. So
I don't mind J.K. Dobbins either. I just think
I was going to say J.K. Dobbins just missed the top 10.
I'm in on ETN
He's
at
good.
this point.
Yeah, same. I feel like I should.
Yeah, you have to respect the player and the profile he is, and because he has looked good. Like we're talking about a guy that, in terms of my forced missed tackles tracking, ETN is one of the highest at like over 40% of his touches. He's forcing a missed tackle. He does have the receiving workload. You have to respect that about him, and that's why I feel like I'm forced to have him in my top 10, and that's why he's up high.
Our next guy on the list, someone I've not listed yet, but Frank has as high as 5. Jake's got him at 6, and Lounis, you also do not have him listed yet, but he does make his way onto the list at 7. Is Javonte Williams out for the season with ACL injury? How much is this just like what you think he can be versus what he's shown versus age? Like, why do you guys have him ranked as high as you do, 5th and 6th, respectively?
Because I feel like I am getting a Nick Chubb level of runner.
Oh, okay.
I think he's just a great player.
That's high praise.
But like,
how is he Nick Chubb, but then Kenneth Walker is like a bum?
Well,
because I think that whatever Kenneth Walker does, other than maybe just straight up speed, Javonte Williams does better.
Kenneth Walker,
and I think Javonte Williams is a better pass catcher, and he has a higher forced missed tackle rate.
I can give you better pass catcher. I think Kenneth Walker's, if not, like, I think he's right there with him in terms of breaking tackles.
No.
Well, to me,
he's been elite at that.
My data shows that one guy's higher than the other, and I think that Kenneth Walker, a lot of the times, because he's so athletic and whatnot right now, he gets away with being poor in the run scheme, which I think we've seen games recently where he's starting to get punished with that because teams are starting to pick up his tendencies and things like that. I'm much more confident if I'm doing a hero RB in drafting Javonte Williams than I am Kenneth Walker.
I'll take Kenneth over Javonte, but
I don't.
Also, does the kind of being Russell Wilson stuck there forever?
No.
Russell Wilson doesn't block.
I also think that offense.
Yeah, no.
Hackett
it's not so much he doesn't block. I'm talking about scoring opportunities.
I don't give a fuck, Lounis. Dude, you want to know why? Because they're going to see, Russell Wilson sucks. Time to hand the ball off 30 times, baby. Let's fucking ride Javonte season. And then he's in.
I refuse to believe Russell Wilson is still this bad. I just can't imagine it. I know.
There's no way.
We have a whole
Dude,
season
Nathaniel
of life,
Hackett was the problem. You see that game they played last week? They actually were able to do things.
They were.
But they played the Chiefs tough with Nathaniel Hackett like 3 weeks ago too. Russell Wilson was decent that game too.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not concerned.
Ignoring that.
I'm not concerned. I like Javonte.
It's not like it was
dying on this hill.
Like they almost beat the Chiefs with Hackett. Also, I don't know. It's a matchup thing. They match up well against the Chiefs.
All right, Frank and I are on the same page for the next one. We have rookie Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama on as our 8th player.
This is where I have Javonte.
Jake has Austin Eckler, who is he RB1 this year currently? Austin Eckler.
No.
It's either him or CMC.
Yes, he is.
Oh, then CMC.
Yeah. So, So with Austin Eckler, I do kind of feel like it's the time bomb of CMC, but kind of at a more exaggerated rate. I'm just like waiting for it to go off. That's kind of why I don't have him in my top 10. And Jahmyr Gibbs, to me, why I'm going to defend picking him here is because I think he's in that next mold of that kind of play, like a Alvin Kamara type, DeAndre Swift, just the decent runner, very good at catching passes.
Yeah, is
a rookie. I don't know if
I think it could be. I think it could be. I think it could be a little bit better. DeAndre Swift. I don't hate it.
I just think that I don't necessarily love Jahmyr Gibbs. I think that there are running backs on this list better than him, but because of how we've seen people view like rookie running backs in Dynasty, like RB8 is a pretty good price. All things considered, because like he is the prototypical what you want in a running back from an NFL perspective and from a fantasy perspective.
I wouldn't say he's the prototypical. I think
he's kind of small.
He's a little bit small.
Yeah, he's small, but
I do think he's still very good. I have him on my top 10.
Yeah, but I mean, we are kind of skipping over. Kenneth Walker does make it onto this list as the 8th consensus running back. I mean, most of that's being driven by Lounis having him at 4.
Carrying a lot of water.
Yeah, Lounis is bringing up his value a lot because besides Jake, who has him at 7, he's not even on Frank and mine.
And he's coming off 2 great weeks too. I don't get it.
Yeah, 2 great weeks is tough to say.
I mean, he's having a good season overall, but
yeah, I mean he's on my 9th. He's not on Frank's board, I believe, right?
No. Walker in my top 10.
Look, I think he's good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I have him at 9th, but I just think at the end of the day, he's a worse runner than Nick Chubb. He doesn't catch passes. We kind of just all talked about this. If you want to hear it, go look.
We already talked about Kenneth Walker in the rookie segment. Yeah.
You want to hear some off-season takes starting? I'll start off with a fucking bang. I think realistically, Kenneth Walker's in the same tier as Brian Robinson.
You're out of your fucking mind. You're out of your fucking mind.
Oh,
there's not. You need to. I don't know if you've just missed the Seahawks games. I don't know if those games just don't show.
Nap every
Sunday. I don't know if you've just been missing them. I'd give it a rewatch.
Listen, I knew that's gonna be outlandish. I don't give a fuck. I'll trade Kenneth Walker for Brian Robinson.
I can't go that far. I definitely can't go that far. I do think.
Oh my God.
I think Kenneth Walker is one of those players that I put in major trouble of losing a bunch of value, but I'm not going to go as far as to say he's in the same tier as Brian Robinson.
Kenneth Walker is carried by the fact that defenses are so startled by Geno Smith.
Yeah.
That all they have to do is like, oh my God, you're telling me box.
You're telling me defenses aren't quaking in their boots when they see Carson Wentz? You think, that hasn't helped Brian Robinson at all? He got 2 MVP votes in 2017. There are no MVP votes for Geno Smith. So to say that is just outlandish.
A rookie has like 240 yards the last 2 games. Yeah. And it's like,
this is a really tough one for me. I have Swift at 9, and I don't know how to value Swift per se. I saw him play last week, and my God, he looked very impressive.
He just won me a fantasy.
No, he did.
He looked like he was back. Like not even back. It looked like he's like better than ever back.
When Swift is healthy, he's a beast. When he's hurt, it hurts to have.
That
was like insane level DeAndre Swift that we have not seen to me. Like that. He
was amazing. No, injuries is the only reason he's not in my top 10. But Swift would be my top 12. He's not going to be my last spot, but he's in my top 12.
Such a football guy. He can't use one running back. Dude, he's like,
I know it's because
he doesn't. The tight ends. He needs to have all these 2 tight ends. He needs to have a goal line poaching back. He's like, dude, this is me. I'm a football guy. I hate fantasy football. Boom, poacher back.
I do think it's something DeAndre Swift can take over. I know the concerns earlier in the year of why he leans on Jamal Williams a lot, besides the goal line stuff, is he kind of does appreciate more north-south runners versus guys who dance more in the backfield. But I think that's something DeAndre Swift can get better at, and he has been. I thought the last game he looked great. But that has been an issue with DeAndre Swift in the past, where he kind of dances around in the backfield too much.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's why he's DeAndre Swift. Let him be DeAndre Swift. I hate when people do this and they try to change the way a runner is. He's who
I'm not
he
saying he
is.
has to change. It's just kind of more decisive, like not always just bounce it to the outside.
Is like the opposite. He's the anti Kenneth Walker. Is that the only thing I didn't like about him was that I felt like he got tackled all the time on the second level, which was not the case the past couple seasons, and I've had to pivot on DeAndre Swift. Dude, the only thing I hate about DeAndre Swift is that he's just isn't on the field like the other bell cows have been. And you could blame that all on injury. And okay, yeah, Jamal Williams has been good, and he did this with freaking Aaron Jones too.
He's not very good running in between the tackles, DeAndre Swift. He's probably below average, for being honest, in between the tackles. But I mean,
yeah,
he catches a bunch of passes and he's so dynamic out there.
Yeah, to me, that was all because it wasn't because he's small. I understand he's smaller. It's not because of his vision. His vision is actually really good. It's just, to me, him one-on-one in a hole against the linebacker, he would get tackled. We saw that last game. Now, it was against the fucking Bears, so like that's probably the reason why. But if he keeps that up, all of a sudden we have a running back like he doesn't really have a weakness at that point, like a glaring weakness, if that trend continues.
All right, and then our last player, almost ruined the whole thing. It is Jahmyr Gibbs, who we talked about. So instead, I think we'll try and go on the stump for players that we had on the list that others didn't. So for Jake, for example, it's Austin Eckler. Frank, it's Nick Chubb. Me, it's J.K. Dobbins.
I don't have Dobbins on there either.
For me, it's Josh Jacobs.
Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs, yeah.
So I guess we'll go down the line. Jake, what makes you have Eckler here versus any of the other guys?
He's just proven to be productive. I understand he's 27. I think I heard this stat the other day. He is the first running back since 2001 to finish the RB1 overall as 27 years old or later.
Huh. I would have guessed
for him.
Yeah.
Can you guess who the running back was back then? It's pretty
2001.
It's LaDainian Tomlinson. Anyway.
Oh, that's who. All right. I thought that was too late for LaDainian Tomlinson, though. I thought.
Oh, maybe it was
too far back for him.
I think it might have been 2006.
Yeah, it's probably 2007 or 6 or something.
Whatever.
CMC doing.
He was the first
year.
guy in a long time to have the running back one overall season as 27 or older. Honestly, he's a guy that just got started late in his career. He was one of those guys that was a backup to Melvin Gordon for a long time, so the tread on the tires isn't that bad, although the past 2 years they have completely just given him the rock 40 times a game sometimes. So I just don't see his usage changing next season or really the year after. So barring injury, obviously, which is a big thing because Eckler's missed a bunch of time in his career with injuries. But I think what we see in the bottom half of this running back rankings is that it can go so many different directions between Eckler, Gibbs, Swift, Josh Jacobs, Javonte Williams, Dobbins. Like, there's so many guys you could throw in the back here. I'm just going to take the guy that has put up, running back 2 and running back 1 in the past 2 years. That's just what I'm going to do.
No, it's fair. I guess the only reason I see the Chargers bringing in more offensive weapons, whether it be a receiver or
I think it'll be a wide receiver. I just don't see them spending money.
I think they'll bring in another running back, but that's the issue.
I think they bring in another running back, but it's not anyone that's really competing with him for carries. I think they bring in a running back for depth because Spiller and whoever else is behind him hasn't really done anything. So I think they do bring in another guy, but I don't think it's going to be a guy that's really a threat to Eckler's fantasy value.
The reason I disagree with that is that I feel like some of Eckler's usage is being propped up on the fact that they have taken some swings at running backs and their swings have not hit. And not only have they not hit,
and have they swung?
Isaiah Spiller and Joshua Kelly, both inside the 4th round picks, I'm pretty sure, right?
Both 4th round. No, they were both 4th round picks.
4th round for a running back is not terrible running back draft.
No, it's not, but it's not going to displace the running back 1.
No, I think
If
I think
they
he'll still
were
get
not
a receiving work.
completely garbage, they would be playing at least.
I could no. The thing, yeah, I could see them bringing in a running back who does get a decent amount of carries, not taking away from his catches at all. But he had 13 rushing touchdowns. He hasn't had over 1,000 yards rushing in his career. I could see them bringing in a guy.
Points.
I know points. Yeah, no, his receive. No, he's still going to be a very good fantasy running back. He's still probably going to finish top 5 or top 7 next year. That's the only reason. No, I'd still have him in like the top next couple of picks after 10.
Yeah.
But
So last year he was running back 2, and this year he's running back 1. And the year before that he only played 10 games and still was running back 24. So he's good. He's really
definitely good. But
he's really good. The age is the concern with him. Obviously, he's hit that 27 mark, which typically for running backs you don't want to see, and that's why all 3 of you don't have him on the list is strictly because of his age. Because if that age was 25, he'd be dead smack on all your lists.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Well, yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of guys you can say that for.
No, I agree, but he's just one of them.
Listen, I don't mind anyone valuing Eckler as a top 10 running back. I'm probably just not going to be the guy that picks him top 10. And I might be losing out on the best running back in fantasy football.
And listen, don't get me wrong. Like, come a startup draft, will I probably take Swift or ETN, who I have at 9 and 10, over him? Probably. But that's just because I'm playing the long-term game there. But if I'm talking about 3-year outlook, yeah, I'll take Austin Eckler.
Wow, 3 years.
Well, I was including this year, so 2 years.
Yeah. All right. I feel like the rest of it's all kind of self-explanatory with where we have our play. Josh Jacobs 9, like he's been on tear this season.
He's still only 20. He's still only 24.
Is he really?
Yeah, my 10 spot, you can basically put
that's why I had Jacobs in there. He's still young.
Jacobs, Eckler, Chubb,
Mixon.
Like basically, this is where you put either the really high point scoring veteran or just your next up good young running back.
Yep.
Right. And I think at the 10 spot is probably in a startup draft where you go, okay, at this point, I'm willing to spend the pick on the really high scoring veteran, which is like, to me, the Eckler or the Nick Chubb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But no, that was the response, Jake. That was the reason I had Jacob's side. I think he seems older. Like you would think he's like 25 or 26, but he's still only 24. I think the same age as Najee Harris. So next vaccination.
The only
but
reason
all those guys are up there.
The only reason I don't like Eckler is that he's probably the only good veteran running back that you have to pay his price for. All the other guys, and I guess rightfully so because they score less points, but you can get for way cheaper. Like
the Dalvin Cook, Mixon, Chubb, all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, even Kamara you can get for like less than a first right now, it seems like.
Definitely can. Definitely.
Do any of you consider him for their top 10? I didn't even really think about him.
You can't because you're willingly committing to a value-losing play, but...
Oh, wait. Did I consider Kamara in my top 10? He's probably not in my top 15, as good as he is. Because of the guys we listed.
Yeah.
Like, I would still have a dog.
I think Kamara right now is a prime. I have my flashy Kenneth Walker.
I do like buying him.
I like that, Frank.
The thing is that you have to flash something in front of the Kamara owner because the Kamara owner's grumpy, the Kamara owner's pissed off. The Kamara owner wants to make a move where it's like, oh, I can give Kamara in a first and get my shiny top 5 potentially running back, like, and that's where you get a really good value deal for Kamara, to me.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else you guys want to add, or is this?
Oh, is that the end of the show?
No, that's cool.
Oh wow,
that is the end of the show.
This segment kind of like flew by to me.
Yeah, it's what happens when we get a Lounis segment.
Lounis, I hope you're happy, man. We did that one for you. We saved that one specifically for you.
That was a lot of fun.
I hope you enjoyed it. I mean, I guess next episode we can keep going with our rookie buy sell holds. I actually kind of like that. I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah, we could do that. We're gonna be doing a rookie mock draft soon. I don't know if it'll be next week or one of the ones after, but we'll be doing that soon. We're gonna have a lot of draft content coming out over the next.
Yeah, I feel like I've been
weeks,
saying that for the
throughout
past month or
offseason.
so, and I've been lazy on watching film and doing analysis. But I have actually been watching film and doing analysis now, so hopefully we'll
Now
have
we
that
actually
right.
mean it.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. We're stopping the Dynasty stock market. Congratulations to Lounis
Lounis was the winner. He's
down there. Good job, Lounis. Listen, I'm not gonna lie, we all doubted you, but you came out on top. So congratulations.
It is what it is.
I really don't know how we all lost to this curly-headed guy.
Dude, he knows the market. We got it.
Dude,
Consensus Lounis knows the market. He knows what people are thinking.
Consensus
He's a
Lounis.
step ahead of him.
Saw it all coming.
So yeah, congratulations, Lounis. Well deserved. You kind of kicked everyone's asses. I was starting off really well. I was starting off hot. I was trading rookies.
I just hit a hot streak at one point. Yeah.
Dude, you want to know why? It's because the Eagles fucking popped, and
that's exactly.
And I just picked a bunch of Eagles.
Exactly.
I had like Miles Sanders. He had like the best year of his career. I had like Devontae Smith for a lot of this season. I had AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts. I had a lot in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, you did. So you did very well. Congratulations. So yeah, thank you so much. Peace. Oh, what's up, JT?
Quick, looking at Damar Hamlin, we do have a slight update. It seems like it's better. He's improved to now just 50% oxygen on a ventilator instead of 100%. So
that's good.
Oh shit, good for him. I hope he makes it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thoughts and prayers for Damar Hamlin as well. So have a good one. Peace.